Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show.
Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, and today we are chatting with Joseph Restaino about his new film, What We Hide. Joseph, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And just for context, real quick, just to set up this episode, can you give us the pitch on What We Hide?
Yeah, I mean it's a very heartfelt story. It's a meaningful story about two girls, two sisters, young sisters that are facing a situation that no one wants to go through. They their mother has passed away from the opi she's overdosed. They find her overdosed in the beginning of the film, and they're trying to keep their family together. They don't want to be separated. So they do whatever it takes to stay together. And so this is a very difficult situation, and they just, but at the same time they're kids. So it's like these kids are like 14 and 10 years old pretty much in this film, and it's like, hey, like kids are kids, and there's a lot of different things that happen, and they just want to, like, at the end, be together, and they're a family.
Mhm.
And so, like, there's all these other obstacles, and there's people in their lives, and they just want to keep this secret together. And so it's like they want to keep this secret, but they don't want to be separated.
No, and how did you initially get involved with the project?
I mean, producing films, you get approached to, all the time to
Mhm.
like help people put their films together. A trusted producing partner of mine at the time sent me the script and was like, "Hey, you got to read this. It's a meaningful story. We're always looking for meaningful stories." And he's like, "You got to read it," and he's like, "You're not gonna be able to put it down." So as soon as I read it, um, of course, it was a beautiful script. It was a beautiful story, a story that I was like, it needs to be told. So I read it, and it was just from a partner of mine that I did a prior movie. I did this movie called Fear of Rain with Katherine Heigl and Harry Connick Jr. with partners of mine that are um they work with the Yankees, actually, the Steinbrenner family. And so I did a film with them, and they sent me this project, and just in the script form. It was a filmmaker who has written a few scripts, but he had not directed a movie in over 20 years.
Wow.
And so it was like, okay, read this script. And I'm like, it's a good script, but like, he hadn't directed in a long time. But I was like, hey, it's worth trying to put it together. But as soon as I read it, it was like, hey, this, it was something that I felt like actors and it would want to be a part of, and we felt like we could put it together.
No, and you've got a great cast in this film, some household names, some most people would know. I'm curious, how did you go about selecting the cast for the film? Were you offering roles? Was it auditioning? And what kind of qualities were you looking for in the end for these two main actors?
Yeah, the girls were, that was the key. Like, really, how can you get, and my director and writer Dan Kay, he would say, and I've heard him say it many times, it's like that those were the key to the film, is getting these sisters that could work and play together as, sisters, and feel like they were connected. And that casting process was so important. So we sought out, I had a connection from one of my first films to the best casting director I feel in the industry, Jessica Kelly. I reached out to her. She read the script and embraced it right away. I mean, she's the casting director of in the film this year, Real Pain, that, the one was up for Academy Awards. She does Euphoria. She does so many amazing, films in the past. She discovered in the movie Precious, you know, um, she's discovered so many talented artists. So we knew if we went to her, and she put out the script to all the top, all the agents out there, whether the top agents and the smallest agents, to do a discovery. And then it went out everywhere, and we fielded hundreds and hundreds of different people that wanted these roles. And the girl that played Jessie, Spider and Jessie, is the two main girls. Jessie, the younger, was played by JoJo Regina, and there was hundreds that auditioned for that role, and we just knew she was actually first. We thought it would be the hardest to get her,
Mm,
and she ended up being. We just knew right away. All together, we were like, "She's it," and it was wonderful and perfect. And then McKenna, we actually almost McKenna Grace got the lead role, I guess you would say, of Spider. Um, it was close to being someone else, but that because McKenna originally was booked up and we didn't think we could get her, she wasn't available. And there was other actors that are super famous and or that were like on all these other shows that wanted the role, and then all of a sudden McKenna's came out of the woodwork and they're like, she wants to read it, she wants to see, and she didn't audition, but she interviewed with my director for several hours on a weekend. It was Easter weekend,
hmm.
and they had a great meeting. And then the next day, I talked to my director. He was thinking about auditioning her, and I was like, no, she's the one. Like, we got to go with her, and that's what happened. I mean, we just like we made the offer the next day, and she was in. It was perfect. And then we had our Spider and Jesse.
Nice. And, producers do a lot of different things. Some are, exec producers who are helping with financing. Some are hands-on. Some are brought on for logistical purposes. I'm curious, can you describe kind of your producing style and kind of what your um, role was in the film as a producer?
Yeah, it's like I've always been more hands-on. I feel like it helps the film when you have um, especially producers that care and want to be a part of it. On this film, yeah, my team at Hungry Bull, we were very involved in the whole process of from the beginning stages of helping develop the script to a part where it could get to a shooting part, like shooting, getting to the film to be in production, casting, financing. We did all of it, helping crew it up location wise, finding where we're going to shoot, and then distribution. We've been active from the beginning. This film's taken a while to put together, so we've been involved in every gamut of the film, even to today. On the phone today, we're actually trying to set up theatrical or screenings for the film in different places. So we're thoroughly involved throughout the whole process on the marketing and publicity of the film throughout. But every film is different. This one we're involved throughout the whole process of everything. Like this film did, it came with a director already, so we didn't have to go find a director, which is great. Sometimes you have to go out there and find a director, or you have a great script and then you have to find a director, or this one didn't have any cast at all. Some projects come to us with a lead actor or someone attached, or some money. This had a script and a director. That's it. So we had to put all the pieces together around that, which is a big undertaking. And we did it fast actually, which is I think it's a testament to the team we had involved.
No, definitely. I mean, were there any significant challenges during the production, whether it be actually during the principal photography or anything that like maybe looking back maybe was a happy accident? We talked to a filmmaking duo who was shooting a movie out in the desert. It was almost entirely set in the desert. And one day they wake up from their hotel rooms and see there's snow on the ground. And they're like, we can't afford to not shoot today or like reshoot. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna justify this? And it ended up making for a great moment in the film. I'm curious if there's any moments like that for you guys.
Wow, man, I'm still waiting on that happy accident, man. Andrew, like we shot this in Florida, okay?
Okay.
So it was hurricane. We got hit with a Hurricane Ian towards the end of the season, and so we had to shut down the last week. We had to there was a lot of chaos with like a hurricane shooting
Mhm.
this film at the end, and so that was kind of you know chaos, I guess you would say. It was and that like we had to shut down and then pick back up, and a lot of different things happened with that. Like any. I mean, we got lucky with the cast, I guess, the people that were involved with that the team that came together. We've gotten I think that was the main luck. I wouldn't say the production was lucky. We're lucky we made it through, I guess you would say. Um, I live in Florida, so it was we were lucky we made it through. It was very hard, man. Somehow we got hit with weather delay possible throughout the production. But now it's coming out. The film's coming out in August, and I think it's going to be a great reception for the film. We're very proud of the way it looks. I think like what we did luck the beauty of the film. I guess like when you're what Florida does have is a very natural look. So the
Hmm.
film looks amazing. The sunsets and the beauty of the film
Hmm.
is very, I guess you would say the cinematography of it because of the differences of landscape and the differences of the sunsets and things made it look beautiful. Um, but I would take better weather any day over that. So yeah.
Well, rewinding in your
Mhm.
career a bit, I'm curious, if like growing up, you always wanted to be in the film industry as a producer or a storyteller, or is this something you fell into later in life?
By accident, by just acquaintances, by my friends. I have a good group of friends that are in the film industry, um, that are my closest friends today. That are one of my best friends that I went to college with is a very successful actor. Now he's a producer. His name's Andre Holland. And so we've been friends for a long time. And so we came up and I've been following his career since we graduated college. And so I've been around the industry because of him for a very long time. And then, he introduced me to people in the industry, and that got me involved in the business. And I think just my background, I'm in finance um, as well. So it got me interested in the financial parts of it. And then it turned my other part of my brain, my creative parts, to like, how can I combine creative and finance together and make for successful films? And I think with our slate, our past projects, we've had some very successful films, and that kind of just opened up doors to make a lot, to really have successful, keep having successful films. We've been very fortunate
Hmm.
with the projects we've had that have kept coming out over and over again. Where we're able to attract great content, get great cast, and then keep, and work with great filmmakers. I mean, it's really doing the whole thing together. But I did not, as a kid, grow up thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna be a filmmaker." It was
Hmm.
never. I did not go to film school, but I did go to Florida State University, which has a great film program. Um, and I've learned a lot through just people I know and people I know and respect in the industry.
Interesting. I mean, so how do you think you developed that taste and maybe that instinct once you started maybe diving into it head first of like wanting to be a working filmmaker? And you said you get approached about a lot of different projects. How did you develop that taste and the instinct of what feels right, what doesn't?
I think the most important thing I did, which is I don't think most producers do this, and somehow I was a film festival programmer, which
Oh.
I don't think they get enough respect because these guys watch
Mm-hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of movies, independent movies, hundreds and hundreds. All the like we just had a couple movies play at the Dallas International Film Festival, which I
Mm-hmm.
love the Dallas International Film Festival, great festival.
Mm-hmm.
And off the record, they had like almost 2,000 submissions. So
Wow.
these
Yeah.
these pro these programmers are watching tons of movies. So I would watch as a programmer for years. I did this. I'm watching hundreds and hundreds of movies, and I think as a programmer, you see what works. You see what like other people are making. You see story, and you really gravitate towards like what makes for a good film, and like you can like you can see like um when I'm reading a script, and I read hundreds of scripts a year. Every week I'm reading multiple scripts, two, three, four scripts, and I can tell like how this will play out in a film and how this will be perceived by an audience, or like what makes sense, or the like what needs to be changed. So I think like just going back to my years of program and festivals has really helped me curate our slate of films at Hungry Bull. Like it really has helped me just say no to films. Like sometimes we have to pass on great projects. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's ones that are like, man, we passed on that. And then, it might premiere at a big festival, but it doesn't go anywhere after that. then
Mhm.
like there's a reason. And maybe it didn't it wasn't the audience wasn't there for that type of film or something. You know, like I think like my past history for programming with programming is, it helps us discover films that find an audience.
No, that's a very important thing. And I think maybe you have a very unique take and maybe valuable advice on this when it comes to, we interview a lot of filmmakers. When I say filmmakers, I mean maybe directors, writers, people closely tied to just the finished product and like making the product itself. And maybe they don't always have the foresight to see like how are you going to market this? Who's going to be your target audience? How are you going to get this in front of people? So I'm assuming, as a producer, you always have that thought in the back of your mind too, and what advice you would give to, filmmakers who maybe are more focused on just getting the project completed, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh yeah, a lot of sense. Yeah. It's the end game is so important. Like how do you
Mhm.
get it to how do you get it to your audience? And making a product that really has an audience. Um, I mean, it's the worst thing is like, oh, I made this amazing film, but no one's who's gonna watch it. Like I, yeah. I mean, early on, we made some films, we thought were great, but distributors were like, I don't know, it's where are we gonna do with it? Like, and you see it all the time still. I mean, it's even tougher. The market's tougher. There's more and more people making movies. There's some more and more content. And distributors can be more and more picky. So you have to be, we say like, a good or great movie today, you need to be excellent to compete. You can't be good. You got to be
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah. No,
So
totally.
it's harder. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious too. One more question before we start wrapping things up. I feel like every production I'm a part of, I always come away with learning something new or, learning from my mistake that something I'll never do again into another project. I'm curious for you from this movie, if there's anything you learned that you're going to be like, oh, we should, we need to do this now moving forward on all productions, whether it be something as simple as day-to-day catering or something, more overarching, logistical stuff.
Oh man. Well, I think you learn on everything you do, right? Like you learn on everything you do and taking a piece of, you know, an experience and carrying that forward on your next adventure is so important. And I mean, whether it's positive or negative, you're learning like there's people on this project that I want to work with again. There's
Mm,
people on this project that we might never work again, but like, there's and not for bad reasons or good reasons.
mm.
I think like we'll be more yeah, I don't know. I have PTSD over the weather in Florida, so on this one, so it's like we're going to be more careful on weather where we're going. I
Mhm.
think is very very important. Um, I think prep for planning and prep and making sure things are in order and you have enough time for certain things and you really you go through that script with your filmmaker more thoroughly in advance to make sure things are in order to prepare for a worst case scenario is and that is great. Like you never know what could happen in a production, so make sure things are in order as most you can. But as in independent filmmaking, anything can happen. It's like no holds bar. You can never fully plan. And that's also like you were saying earlier, like some of these things that are like, oh, this stuff that happened, like like these things that happen, like, oh, maybe it worked out, like maybe it made it better.
Mhm.
Sometimes it does make it better, right? Like, oh man, that goof or that whatever happened made it better. So sometimes over planning does make things not as good, right? So but I think no, just realizing there's no guarantees, the market changes nonstop, and you have to just trust your instincts and plan the best you can.
No, I totally get it. That's all great advice. And, again, before we wrap up, you mentioned What We Hide is going to be releasing later this year. Is there anywhere specific people can be on the lookout for? Do you know how to find the movie, where to watch it?
Yeah, we're targeting the end of August. I mean, we're close on the exact date. I don't want to announce it right now, but I think it's like the end of August. It's going to be on all platforms, VOD, video on demand, all platforms. We do expect it to be on, streaming platforms and all that, but it's going to be, I would say hit up Apple and Amazon first. That's where it's, I mean, with McKenna Grace and Jesse Williams and Baker Montgomery, it's gonna be blasted everywhere. So we're doing some strategic partnerships on this with some social issue groups like Aluna, which is an amazing um, nonprofit that focuses on kids that have been affected by the opioid crisis in America. So you're going to see a lot of, and they're based in Philadelphia with campuses all throughout the U.S. And they do a lot with the Philadelphia Eagles because they're based in Philadelphia. So we're going to do a lot of partnership strategic. So I think like you're going to see a lot of press and things that surrounding this film to try to get the word out. And so end of August, which August 31st is International Overdose Day. And that's what we're trying to release right around
Mm.
then to acknowledge, the effect of this crisis in the world. And I think like on our past films, the biggest success is like, just finding these movies on Apple, supporting independent film. Sean Baker did a great job acknowledging it at the Oscars this year is
Hmm.
like how tough it is to get movies out, even his films, right? So it's
Yeah.
like support these movies, they need to be made and get out there and do your best with them. So
No, totally. And for people who want to maybe follow your career or Hungry Bull, where can they do that?
yeah, I mean our website, hungrybullproductions.com. You'll see all the films we've done. Um, and then also our Instagram page as well is Hungry Bull Productions, is the handle. You know, I mean, I don't know, like our biggest film is in 2020, or some of them in 2021, our film Pig with Nicolas Cage was IndieWire's #1 drama of the year. So it's like a lot of people have seen that film, and we're trying to keep, successful films like that, going. So I think like this film, What We Hide, is going to follow in that trajectory as well.
That's awesome.
As soon as we find that audience, Andrew, that's what's going to happen. So
The hardest part, the the
yeah,
hardest part, but the hopefully most rewarding part once you do get it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Joseph, thank you so much again for joining me on the show. I hope everyone listening has a chance to check out the film once it comes out, and of course, we would love to have you on the show again in the future once you come out with your next project.
Love it. Yeah, thank you for having me.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping, and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.